And yeah, that's basically all there is to it. Moving on to the last segment of our podcast, it will be a Q&A. Some of you will ask some questions. I will answer as many as I can. It's the shortest one, but it's the most simple and straightforward. So, getting right into it. First question: how does your film represent social groups or issues? All right, this one's already pretty complicated. So, to start off, I feel like as a society, many of us view murder as a unviolent and potentially unmotivated act against another individual, right? And I feel like it's so much more deeper than that. The psychology and the human mindset before, I guess, committing a murder is way more complicated than most of us probably know. For example, many of these issues can stem from things like social negligence, discrimination, racism. All of these can direct a person into committing these acts. And another popular one I see is, well, mostly in movie industries, is mental health, right? Mental health is a serious matter, and if not taken into accordance, it could easily form into something more serious, something such as murder, worst case scenario. But I feel like it should be taken into accordance more, and I feel like that my film can expose many of my audiences to that sort of issue. All right, second question. Let's see. How does your product use or challenge conventions? All right, for this one, closest example I could think of, the good guy always wins plot, right? Let's say the murderer is caught, arrested, put on trial, sentenced to jail, justice is served. Easy, simple, done. But it's a lot more complicated than that in reality. The justice system can fail, and not everyone gets what they want in the end, right? Justice it can be perceived differently, and it's very, very subjective. And I feel like my movie can expose that idea. And let's see here. For the third question, how would it be distributed as a real media text? So, I say I would like to, I guess, partner with Netflix. It's a very, very big accomplishment, but I feel like it's doable if my film does get enough recognition and exposure. And I feel like just partnering with Netflix alone, that can make it way easier to convey my message and export it to different audiences around the world, and make this idea more well known. And that's basically all there is to that one. And let's see, fourth question. How does your product engage with audiences? All right, this one basically ties into the other question I just answered. With this one, I guess it's more of a, people deal with these issues every day. Social negligence, bullying, mental health issues, discrimination, things like that. A lot of people deal with these issues, and it's not taken seriously, to an extent. I feel like it's sort of disregarded and treated as any other issue, but it could easily, build up into a more serious matter, such as, murder. That's, I guess, like the worst case scenario. But it's a very realistic and it's a real world problem. It happens to a lot of people. And well, yeah, that's basically all I have for this segment. It was very short. I wish I could have answered more questions. Thank you for joining me in this podcast, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.